We're back with another episode of Boots, Balls and Bras with myself, Fara Williams, and the amazing Anita Asante. Neat, what are you up to other than cleaning your hotel room before you jump in here?
Yeah, well, I'm on camp with the England women's under-23s. We're at St. George's Park, preparing ahead of two of our fixtures, one against Germany, one against France. So yeah, really exciting to just get stuck in with this group of players. There's also been a kit launch photo shoot happening today. So SGP has been very busy.
Oh, are you going to reveal? Have you got a sneaky picture of the kit?
I haven't got a sneaky picture, I'm afraid, but roped into some of that. So yeah, it'll be really exciting when it's all out there and launched.
And have you seen the kit?
I have seen the kit.
Looks nice.
And I can say, I think it is very, very nice. I think it looks smart and sharp. Particular fan of the away kit as well.
Okay, I like the away kit from a few years back when they in the Euros 2022, the orange one.
Exactly.
That was my favourite. Nice. Okay, well, I haven't been up to much this week, just across the women's game at the weekend, which is where we're going to start, Nate. So I was at the North London Derby on Sunday, and I have to say, for as good as Arsenal have been, and we know they score a lot of goals, and we know when they're at the Emirates, you know, how difficult it can be for any opposition to go there. But I don't want to give Arsenal all the praise. I more want to talk about Spurs, because they're a team that have been, in my opinion, really frustrating to watch. I mean, we've done a couple of games. We did the Tottenham-Liverpool game earlier in the year. You've done a couple of Tottenham games. I think it was Tottenham against, who did they play with? Leicester. Yeah. So, I mean, we've seen a bit of them. There's some questions I want to ask, and I'm going to ask you because you've just told me you're in England 23 camp. You're the coach out of the two of us. But the question is, in football, and it's one that's always, I guess, getting raised, is about identity and whether teams need to stick to an identity based on coach's philosophy, or whether they find an identity philosophy based on the personnel they have within their squad. Now, Tottenham, I mean, I don't know if you saw the opening goal, but pretty much played into Arsenal's hand and kind of repeated that, playing out from the back, getting pressed, turnovers, and then on the back foot. I don't know if you saw it, but what's your take on kind of identity within teams, and certainly Tottenham in particular?
Yeah, I think it's really important to try and establish identity within any team, but whilst laying down some ground foundations and standards that are like your bare minimums, you know. And I think also nowadays the game has evolved to such a place that it's about principles, right? And players having clarity over what that means, but not to the point that you're no longer adaptable. Mm-hmm. Like, you still have to be able to adapt to the outcomes and things that are happening within games or across a season in order to impact it positively through your team and your results. So I don't think you can be hard and fast. You can have an idea or a philosophy or a style in terms of what you want to build into your team and what you want to see in terms of performance. But if it isn't quite there for whatever reasons, the technical side of your players, the tactical understanding, then you, as a coach, I think you have to adjust. And players also, you have to play in a way that allows them to build confidence in their game as well. You know, so I think when I've watched Tottenham, I think, you know, at the beginning, I think it was very brave, and it was quite nice to see that the new, you know, the manager that came in, Robert Villahan, was trying to implement a more possession-based style for Tottenham. But we have seen over time that this team, I don't think, has the real kind of core strength to deliver that style or game plan consistently across the season, you know, without being able to problem solve in game. Yeah. Because you can try to build out from the back, and, you know, Farah, as a player, and you've coached loads as well, is that the more you do something and the more it has a negative outcome, the more your confidence drops. You know, and then you start making more mistakes, and then those split-second decisions you've got to make, you will make more bad decisions than good decisions.
Yeah, and that's what it's felt like. I mean, look, I know Arsenal isn't an easy game, and certainly when they're at the Emirates is even more difficult with, you know, 50,000+ fans there. But it's not just the Arsenal game that this is apparent in the Tottenham setup. It's happened, you know, to so-called lesser teams when they face them, and they've had the same problems. They've conceded the second most amount of goals in the league. The only other team to have conceded more is Crystal Palace, and they're a newly promoted team. So that in itself, as a team that, got to an FA Cup final last season and finished sixth, should be looking to progress this year. Yes, they're sat in sixth at the minute, but I think they started the season well and put themselves in a good position. I think, they lost 4 of the last 5 games, only beating Tottenham 1-0, Leicester 1-0. And actually, the goal in the Leicester game, they had no shots at goal. Yeah. So it's not like they won that game comfortably. Leicester, for me, was, probably the better team in that game. So, I mean, in terms of the players, do you think that, as the game, you talk about game evolving and whatever, do you think that players, if they're not comfortable in the style, should say they're not comfortable in the style? Or do you think it's for the manager to recognise? Because I recognise some of their players and some of their qualities, and actually Tottenham don't play to the qualities of some of their individuals. There was an example in yesterday's game, and, there was a couple of opportunities. We know Arsenal like to play with really high fullbacks, and they had Jess Naz up against 2 centre-halves in Lee Williamson and Steph Catley. Now, the keeper, there was a couple where the keeper come out and claimed it, but England was close to Jess Naz at the time. And the keeper decided to completely slow the game down, allow Arsenal to get back in shape and play out from the back. When there was occasions that she could have just turned them, hit it long in behind and actually give the likes of Jess Naz an opportunity to run beyond the Arsenal back line and put them under a little bit of pressure. And they're the sort of moments in games that really frustrate me for players or coaches, that they don't allow for that to happen. Now, my thing is that a player responsibility to recognise it, or is it solely that they've been given this game plan, they've been asked to play a certain way, and players are a little bit afraid of that?
I think as professionals at this level, it's partly the players' responsibilities as well. It's not just the manager. A lot, I think, is put on the managers and coaches in terms of, the performances and the team not necessarily delivering everything that the manager wants to see all the time either. I feel that, managers often put in a blueprint of the way they want to play, but that's normally the guideline. That's just the baseline for players to try and make good decisions, because they are at this level where they should be able to, as in they are exposed to enough of these situations probably across their season that they should learn from past mistakes to some degree. Yeah. Not saying you won't make the same ones again, but to make better decisions. So I think it's a bit of both, because I'd be interested to know if Robert Villaham is hard and fast saying never kick the ball long or never, the goalkeeper, it's a transition moment and you spot that you have an overload in the front line. Can you find it, or can players find it? Do you get what I mean? I think.
Yeah, but on that, I also question how much he's prepared to change, because I heard his interview after the game, and for me it was horrendous. It was along the lines of, this is probably the worst of our last few performances, but we expect that because of the gulf between the two teams. You've lost 4 in 5. So that whole interview was, in my opinion, a bit of a joke anyway, that you can accept that, because it's Arsenal, but you've lost 4 in 5. That's not acceptable. But from going in at half time and coming out no different in the second half, actually Arsenal dominated even more in the second half and just started to just look like they was in a training game. To make no changes that affected or impacted the game suggests that he wanted them to do the same thing they did for 45 minutes.
Well, then that wholly falls on the manager. 100%, because he's not adapting in game or problem solving, for his players to help them, at least not ship more goals, for example. And I think, that lack of adaptability, that lack of being able to just go, you know what, this isn't working, is a massive problem for Tottenham. And like you say, we've seen it time and time again across the season. But I think also it's almost like, they're trying to run before they can walk.
Yeah.
Because arguably you could say they might have overachieved last season, getting to the cup final as well, when you think about their project and their journey compared to some other clubs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it's not, I think there's no shame, I think, for a team like Tottenham, whether you play Arsenal or whether you play West Ham, that you still play with a more pragmatic style.
Yeah.
Whether that's more counter-attacking or more transitional play, because I actually think they've got players that suit it. I'm saying, like you said, if you take a Jess Naz or a Rasso, what are they? Quick, dynamic players.
You could see Rasso Neats in the game yesterday, in those transition moments, really getting frustrated, throwing her arms up as if to say, look, I'm in the channel and Fox is halfway up the pitch. This is my opportunity to get half a chance. And you could see the frustration. But do you think then, with Tottenham, because they've obviously tried to buy in higher caliber of players, so some international players that have won, the league and etc. from Chelsea. I'm talking Drew Spence and Beth England. Do you reckon the balance of the team in terms of understanding and that kind of streetwiseness that, some players have and some don't, is a massive imbalance in terms of that?
Well, I mean, in certain areas, maybe, especially...
They signed, didn't they, a few foreign players in the window as well, overseas players. Yeah. I was asking yesterday, is there like a communication breakdown between, personnel in terms of trying to get the messaging across? But I'm trying to put a finger on it because...
I'm trying to put a finger on what it could be. I actually just think, like you say, I think it's more a case of these players have been so drilled in about being possession-based and having control that they're not even able to come out of that mindset to go, you know what, but this is the moment, actually, we don't need to be in control. This is a transition play. This is where we need to go with tempo and dynamism and go forward and break lines.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think when you get into that mindset, you think, if I don't follow the game plan, there's a consequence for that. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's working or not. For example, like if Drew or whoever it is in the midfield...
Drew should have been in North London derby, regardless of anything. You're going to want to upset and rattle Arsenal, right? Now, out of all of their players that was on the pitch, one player wasn't in Drew Spence, who you'd probably want in a game like that to do something like that and set the tone. They didn't have anybody that was able to tackle or set the tone in different ways, whether it be, as you said, running with the ball or getting beyond a tackle or, anything. There was nothing. There was no character, so there were no leaders.
No leaders. And if you don't have leadership, you don't have players that kind of have the feeling, the instinct, like Drew's played in a lot of derby matches.
Yeah.
As she's from London, she understands the kind of like the passion, the consequence of these types of games. She would bring that, I think, to this type of game, like her that you say, breaking up play, just showing people like this, we've got to show that we're in it, that we're present, that even if we don't win this game, that it matters. Like, we're going to fight for every ball in our 1v1 challenges. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect there, but I also do think that players think, if I don't follow the game plan, there's a consequence for me. Like, I'm maybe getting dropped in the next game, or the manager's not looking at me, he's not talking to me, and you know what it's like. So you just do the thing, even if you know it's probably not the right thing to do. But if you have leaders with a bit more experience, sometimes they break that mold because they just think, oh, I'd look silly doing this.
I was going to say exactly that to you, Nate. You know me as a player, I never understand it, because I'm like, if the consequences of being dropped for trying to do the right thing, then so be it. And that's the type of player I was. I mean, I felt sorry for Beth England yesterday. She was the only player that played with a little bit of quality in her play, but she was coming very deep to try and connect. And as I said, somebody like Drew maybe kind of gets that understanding. But I'm thinking back to when we played Neats, and we had to play in teams that had a style of play or a game plan, and there were certain things that was expected of you to do and not to do. I mean, you played in, how many teams did you play in where teams wanted you played in teams in our day where teams wanted you to go, the goalkeeper, for example, to go long and squeeze you up to the halfway line. Now you're a ball playing centre half. Yeah. You could have come away from that and been like, well, actually give me the ball, etc. Were there moments where you had to kind of break the game plan or the style of playing in games where, you didn't feel it was right or necessary to play in that style to help the team to maybe get results?
Absolutely. I mean, we've played in international games like that too, where we all want to be on the ball, but we know we're not maybe going to see a lot of it, or I know I'm largely having to defend and play a bit longer and stretch teams. Like, that was just the reality of it. But you have to adapt, because you're trying to give yourselves the best chance of competing, the best chance of getting a result. And even in teams like what you said, I played, even when I played at Arsenal, so what, we were a possession type team or wanted to play that way. We had games where we weren't playing well, right? Where you just show up and it's not your day and you're not playing well. And literally people on the team, leaders in the team would be like, it's not our day.
Yeah.
There's no point trying to play these like intricate passes in and around the 18-yard box in build. Send it long to someone who will head it, like, you know, a Jane Ludlow or whoever up top, or Julie Fleeting, and who is going to run beyond, stretch the game, which will give us the space eventually to play the way we want to play. So sometimes you earn that respect.
Well, exactly.
I
I think you nailed it on the head there. I remember playing in so many games where we're like, mate, it's not working. We're just going to have to go long. There were so many times where, you know, we were in teams that wanted to try and play, you know, what people see as the right way. But also there was also an understanding of actually it's not working, whether it be you get impressed or whether it be actually there's too many individuals having to carry today, they're on off days, whatever it might have been. We as players used to make those decisions to go, look, it's not working for us. Let's not put our team at risk and let's make the right decision. And we're going to have to work our socks off this game in different areas and play territory football as opposed to the possession that we're supposed to be playing where it's not working. It just surprises me a little bit just because they're full time now and you'd think that they would be more adaptable the more knowledgeable they become in the game. And obviously they're technically much better now, you know, with all these touches they're having on the ball daily. But yeah, that was just my take. I thought Arsenal were very good again, but I do think they come up against a really weak Tottenham team. And I was trying to think of like teams that I think do it well. I think this season Man United have done that really well in terms of adapting. You know, I remember there were so many seasons I was like, why are you playing out? Why are you playing out? You know, sometimes go long, and now they've really mixed up their playing. I mean, it's no coincidence that they're sat in second position in the WSL, given the fact that they are so adaptable at the minute. But yeah, I think if I was to say a team that kind of adapts well in the WSL at the minute, other than Chelsea, it would be Man United.
I agree with you. And they're the team that actually have won one of the best defensive records in the league as well.
Yeah, they do.
They've also been harder to beat. And I just feel like Tottenham, in my opinion, should start there. To start being harder to beat and stress the opposition so that they're not comfortable enough to play they want to play before you want to play how you want to play, fundamentally.
Exactly that. Let's move on to some positive news because Tottenham, they were very frustrating for me yesterday. But Chloe Kelly returns to Arsenal and makes her second debut in front of 56,784 fans. There was a few questions I wanted to ask and get your opinion of, and I have my opinion of the Chloe Kelly move. I mean, firstly, what did you make of the crowd? I mean, I don't know if you watched it on telly or heard. I was in the stadium. She got massive applause as she made an entrance to the pitch. What did you make of that for her?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on TV, and for me, I thought it was brilliant. I mean, that's what you want, you know, as a new player to a club. You want to feel that the fans are behind you, that they want you there, that they're excited about what you can bring and add to it. And I think, as we all know, the Arsenal fans have been brilliant, haven't they, in terms of their support for the club. You know, their attendances have been exceptional, and you know, she's a Londoner as well, so for her it must have felt nice and felt like, you know, a little bit of like I'm back home kind of feeling as well for a club she's obviously grown up with as well. So I think for that perspective, it's great. It's what you want to see in the game in general.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was really nice, and you could see on the side she was itching to get herself on and kind of get some minutes under her belt. But a part of the reason why she wanted to make a move in January was to get more playing time, right?
Yeah.
I posed a question to her after the game yesterday, post-match interview, and said to her, you spoke about wanting to be happy. I believe you are, in terms of, you know, I can only go off visuals of what I've seen from training pictures and obviously your face today after the game. But you also said you wanted to be getting more minutes. Do you think it was the right decision based on the fact the competition at Arsenal for places in those wide areas are equally as competitive as they were at Manchester City?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I don't think so. I think it would have been better if she'd gone to like a Brighton perhaps, or a team that is also, you know, had a bright start to their season but look like they need some extra reinforcements in the team and a bit maybe more competition, and also just to go somewhere where there's a little less pressure on as well for her personally as an individual, but in a team where they're still building something, and she probably most likely would get a lot of minutes, like regular minutes almost, just to even find her confidence. And, you know, she's talking about her love of the game and just feeling happy again I just wondered, she's gone to a club that actually has a lot of depth in her position and in general, and a lot of competition. And of course, that training environment will be really good for her. And she's going into a team, I think, with who are together and they're tight. So there's probably good energy there as well. But in terms of like forcing her way into a starting lineup, I think that's going to be really challenging for her as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy that, as I said, she got the move, and I get it. If it was just for the fact that you wanted to be in a new environment, I would 100% get it. It makes sense. It's a big club. It will be competitive. But the fact that you want minutes, my thing is that you don't want to be guaranteed minutes. And I don't think she's guaranteed minutes anywhere. I don't think anybody we should suggest that anybody's guaranteed minutes. She would have had less competition, as you mentioned, and less pressure at a club like Brighton, who are starting to build something, than a team that Arsenal that, are built, but trying to get back to kind of that top level again, but with lots of, as you said, squad depth. So the reasoning why she didn't get picked in the Lioness squad, I know now she's been called in a replacement for Beth Mead, but the original reason was because she hadn't had enough playing time. So it kind of contradicts the whole reasoning for not playing her, because you took her in anyway without, with 30 minutes of playing time. So that kind of contradicts why you didn't select her in the beginning. But I don't think she's going to get as many minutes as she probably would like to get that match time, because you know what it's like, Neats. We can train as much as we want, right? But playing the pitch and getting that match fitness is a completely different fitness, and something, if you're going to a major tournament, you're going to need. Now, I mean, let's hope that, Arsenal end up, with Beth Mead on one side and Chloe Kelly on the other side, and, they're getting the minutes that England fans want them to get ready for the Euros. But I wouldn't suggest it's going to be an easy one, because Caitlin Ford, for me, I mean, if I was there yesterday, I would have been disappointed and frustrated that I got taken off. I thought she was having a really good game. I mean, she got 2 assists. Yes, she missed, a couple of opportunities, but 2 assists, and I thought she was, playing really well. So if I was Caitlin Ford, I'd be like, mate, why am I coming off just because you kind of want to make a big thing about this new signing we have? Like, I'd be frustrated as a wide player in that position. Yes, they were 3-0 up or 4-0 up at the time. I can't remember. But I don't think, and I might, and as I said, I'm hoping she gets the minutes, but I don't think she will get the minutes that she would want and need in order to go, because I don't know, maybe Serena will take her. She's played 30 minutes and she's picked her, so it doesn't suggest that Serena ain't going to pick her based on minutes. I think the fact.
But you also made a good point there, Farah.
The fact the fact Serena's picked her based off of 30 minutes, but only 4 days ago we're saying she ain't picking her because of minutes. I don't think you've lost something there. That communication between yourself and media and fans is kind of like, well, hang on. You've said one thing and you've done a complete opposite after 30 minutes. Is 30 minutes enough time to play 2 Nation League games for England or to be a part of the squad? I don't know.
Not, but then it's a question of depth in her position for English players. And I think that's been the challenge for Serena in terms of perhaps, who would come in then.
Yeah.
When you're looking across the league. So, I mean, that from that perspective, but I totally agree in terms of the messaging now. It feels like, a slight contradiction or whatever.
You could have a Frank Kirby. Frank Kirby played how much minutes yesterday? Potentially. And, a Jess Park, we know, is versatile. Could play out in wide areas, give up, we've got Lauren James that plays in wide areas, and Nikita Paris is back in the squad, wide areas.
No, for sure. But she trusts her, I think, and obviously, like,
I want coaches to be in the squad. I think it strengthens our wide areas for sure. I definitely think that. I just think some of the reasoning why you're not selected and then you get selected, I just don't think it kind of looks great. But we'll see. I
think that's a fair point as well. And I think for Chloe Kelly as well, you made the point of she's played 30 minutes or whatever, come into those games, but she's come into a game where Arsenal are already on top and they're winning. So the difference is going to be when Arsenal are suddenly they've got this momentum now of all the consecutive games they're winning. They really feel like they can finish in that top 3, or even, close to pushing Chelsea. So when those games get tighter, is she going to be first choice? Is she going to get enough minutes?
Yeah,
is the question, isn't it? Now,
I mean. So that's the thing, isn't it? If she goes and is a backup to say Beth Mead and Caitlin Ford, and is only getting minutes off the bench, how crucial is that going into the tournament? Is that something that she's had those conversations with Serena in terms of the move she wanted? I mean, listen, we'll just have to wait until the summer and see, and we'll have more of an opinion, I guess, once she's settled into the club a little bit. But she did make a return. Happy for her. Excited to see where she can go with this Arsenal team, but there's lots of competition there, and in the England squad, as we mentioned there. But Neats, Manchester City 4-0 winners over Liverpool, and we seen it. We only spoke about it last week on the podcast about the racism that Bunny Shaw had suffered. She actually went and scored 2 goals, but I think what caught everybody's eye was a celebration when she stood with her right fist and her head bowed, the Black Power salute, to kind of, represent that. It was a really powerful celebration. And, I think from her point of view, it was like, I'm back, I'm black, I'm a powerful woman, and I'm going to be here to stay. It was really like, I think everybody kind of looked at it, wanted to talk about it. It should be headline news because she should get attention around it, because she really stood tall in terms of, doing that celebration after, she's had a week or 2 now where, it was suggested that mentally she wasn't in the right place based off some of the abuse she suffered. What did you make of the celebration?
Yeah, for me, I thought it was brilliant. Personally, I thought it was powerful. I think, I thought it was, courageous of her. I thought it was bold. I thought it really depicted the fact that, she is saying to everybody, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm also going to show you, I'm going to bang in 2 quality goals, So I just think credit to her as well, because I don't think it's easy, like, for her to take herself out of the game as well when she did. Not many.
And without, not to say, I mean, we spoke about it, didn't we, on the pod? And it probably come across, we were saying, not without the support of the team. I'm sure the team was supportive in some way, but she was alone in kind of taking herself away from a situation that, made her mental well-being, depleted for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think people took some of the messaging that we were saying the last pod a bit wrong. We weren't saying that players wouldn't support her or whatever, but I think having visible support is very impactful than support that maybe happens behind closed doors or in private, because the point is that people need to know that, publicly, that is not okay. Like, we don't stand for it. Nobody stands for it. And that she is not isolated. And it's not just on her to talk about racism or the impact of racism, and I felt like that's why this, her celebration was so important and so powerful, because so many generations of people know it and respect it and know the history behind it, know about, the 1968 Olympics when that first happened. It meant something then, and it still means something now, because racism hasn't gone away. It's the point, fundamentally. So for me, I thought, good on you. Like, show them. Show them.
I couldn't agree more, Nate. And what a way to come back. I mean, she got both of the opening goals. And as I said, and Gareth Taylor, our manager, said it was powerful in the response to the celebration. But I think even bigger, Neats, in terms of like the importance for like the women's game to fight against racism, and to see Bunny doing that celebration. I mean, hopefully it goes viral. Hopefully people see the power behind that celebration and people stand with her. But I thought it was a really brave, as you mentioned, courageous celebration, and one that was probably needed after what she'd gone through, for sure.
And honestly, if people had a problem with it, then they need to look at themselves and ask themselves why.
Exactly.
That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. But they went on to win 4-0, but it didn't change their position within the league. They still remain 4th, just behind Arsenal, who are in 3rd. But the Chelsea seem to have this Fergie time. I don't know where it's come from. Lauren James with a 93rd or 92, I think it was 92-12 on the clock, if I'm right, minute winner against Everton, and just showed, I guess, the mentality of this Chelsea group of players. I mean, they were 1-0 down against Everton. Ramirez got them back into the game for a long period of time, didn't look like scoring, and then LJ from nowhere pops up with a banger outside the box, left foot, hard and low, and Courtney Brosnan had no chance of getting anywhere near to it into the bottom corner. What did you make of one, the goal, but two, obviously the mentality of this Chelsea group, because they looked, when I was watching the game, I was a bit like, you take out Erin Cuthbert, something changes in this Chelsea team 100%. And that was my feeling throughout the game. I didn't know she was injured. I've just seen she's pulled out of the Scotland squad. But throughout the game, I was like, look what happens when you make a couple of changes. But, mate, I was eating my words as that goal went in, as I said, in the 92nd minute. But it just shows this team are a force, right?
Honestly, Farah, like it never ceases to amaze me when Chelsea pop up with these moments of pure quality as well. And I don't think I've ever doubted Chelsea as a squad, because they just always had that, like, you know, that kind of mentality, monster mindset. And the depth in that squad is so ridiculous. You're like, there's going to be somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, that's going to come on and change the game or pop up with something impactful. And Lauren James, we know she's just a magic player, isn't she? She's just an unbelievable player to watch. And defenders are fearing for their lives, because it's like, you can't get tight to her. She's going to roll you or do something tricky. And if you give her space, she can score goals like that from range, left foot, right foot, and just completely, kill the game, win the game. And I just think that's what Chelsea have. They have individuals also that can just make things happen and change the game on the spin of a coin, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it was if you haven't seen it, you've got to go and watch it. I mean, unbelievable finish. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I know there was a few complaints from Everton in the build up to that goal, a foul. They thought it was a foul. I was dismissive of it. I didn't think it was anything in it. And also I felt like the defender, I can't remember who it was, had enough time to react and was already on the feet before the shot was actually taken. So, yeah, I just think it was more. Everton look good. They've made some real good signings in January. They look much stronger now. They've obviously pushed Chelsea in both weeks in the FA Cup. I know it was 4-1, but they went 1-0 up in both games and probably felt that they were more in the game at the weekend against Chelsea. So it is, we know as players, it's a sucker punch to concede that late. But Everton are looking good, and there's something going on at the club, right? Because the men are in the same spot. But they're both doing really well. So yeah, long may that continue as an ex-Evertonian. Neat. But before we finish up on the pod, I've got to talk about your former club, Aston Villa. They're in trouble, right? 4 points above Crystal Palace at the bottom of the table. I think they play them in the next couple of games. I'm sure, if I'm right, after the international, they play each other quite close. But they sacked the manager early in the year, didn't they? Sean Gotter took over, looked as if they were getting back to kind of winning ways. And then go and tell me who they've signed the manager from.
Real Sociedad.
Yeah. And my question was, Sean Gotter applied for the job, and I thought he would get it given the results he was getting. And they brought in a new manager, as you mentioned, Real Sociedad, Spanish football, kind of completely different philosophy to what maybe the players are used to. To do that when they're fighting a relegation anyway, as in they're down the bottom fighting, to bring a new philosophy in at this stage of the season, do you think they made the right decision in doing that? Do you think that it's just going to take a little bit of time to kind of, get that understanding with players? Or do you think players need to take more responsibility given the squad that they have?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one, actually, because I felt that obviously with the last manager, we sort of started to see some progress in the way that the style, in the way Villa were trying to play. You could sort of see those changes.
Yeah.
So I think it was really tough to bring in a new manager halfway through the season. Anyway, that's always challenging because you can't make these wholesale changes. You've got to come in there and you've got to just make tweaks, and you have to go after the things that you think are the most important to prioritize. So I think that's the challenge. But to be honest, I've been impressed with Natalia Arroyo in terms of just the way she's communicated her messaging across with the media. Even during the game, when they went down like 2-0, she was up there standing, trying to communicate messages to a team, encourage them, whatever. And when they went down 3-0, I was sort of studying her behaviors and body language. And I think it's really easy for managers when a team's losing to just sit down
for sure.
and not even engage with the game or engage with their players or encourage them. But she didn't do that. She was up by the touchline. She was talking the whole time. I think the main, if I was to critique anything that perhaps I think she could do differently, I thought that Villa were very shaky defensively. I thought they were very poor in that area for the goals that they conceded, other than
Kaiman's volley.
Yeah, unbelievable. But aside from that, I thought the first goal was shocking. The second, like they could have done better in those scenarios. But I would argue, in a game like the game against Leicester, where they just dropped into a block quite often, once they were up and they were comfortable and they were really trying to chase a goal, you're now trying to utilize spaces out wide and get maybe crosses in the box.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the personnel they had, and I was like, you don't have anyone in there that's like going to attack the ball.
No, it's true.
For the head.
It's true.
Came out of the game, I'm like, the one player that you think is good in the box, who's really going to attack those aerial crosses, was out the game at that point.
Yeah. It's a tough one, Neats, because I'm just like, again, it was like Villa invested. So I look at them like a little bit like Tottenham. And when I talk about them, I get a little bit frustrated because some of the personnel that are there have better qualities than they demonstrate weekly. The consistency isn't there. And I get really frustrated because Villa do have a good squad of players, and they have players that are more than capable, of taking on information, and executing it. So it is. And as you mentioned, defensively, you look back to the first game of the season at Chelsea, I thought defensively they were superb.
Yeah.
So to be that fragile, and the goals were weak, keeper partly to blame for the first goal. The second goal you can't do anything about. But yeah, they do look a little bit fragile. They're only, as I mentioned, they are 4 points above Palace. Do you see them in danger zone, or do you see that kind of foregone conclusion that Palace will potentially go down?
No, I think they're in danger zone because you're only like 1 or 2 games away from being in real serious trouble. And just like that performance against Leicester was not convincing at all.
Yeah, not at all.
And I think if you had put that fixture, ahead of time, you would have gone, okay, Villa should get a result.
We said it. We said it in our predictions, didn't we?
Yeah, they should do, or they should at least, draw or come out with a reasonable result. But they completely, Leicester deserved it.
Yeah,
they deserved the result. Judged on performance and just the quality and desire and the hunger and everything they showed. That's my concern for Villa, because these are the teams that would be in and around them.
Yeah,
that they've wins to, and also underperforming.
Well, Leicester jumped above them after that win anyway within the league. But that's it for WSL this week, Neats. You're in camp with the 23s, so I'm not sure you're allowed to give a prediction. I'm still going to ask you. Seniors, England play away to Portugal Friday, the 21st of February. Predictions, England or Portugal win?
Oh, England win. 1,000%.
Good. I'll go with the same. England win for me as well. That's on Friday night, so really looking forward to that one. Also, I have to shout out my girl, Nikita Paris, getting a recall back into the Lioness squad. So, yeah, super happy for Nikita. I thought she's had a superb season with Brighton so far, so really good. Needs a couple of fans' questions. I don't know if I'm very good at English or they've mistyped their name in this one, but underscore the SMY is the question. What can Brighton do to get their momentum back?
Oh, yeah. What can they do to get the momentum back? Well, they're scoring
so risky. Did you see their goals they conceded?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Honestly, it was a hand over eyes moment, back to back, like the penalty and the set. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Don't get me started.
He's playing a holding midfielder, complete wrong side. Like, honestly, I can't even. I mean, you say where they can get their momentum back, because they frustrated the life out of me.
That, I think, where they can get the momentum back is not playing as risky and not turning over the ball in areas that are going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, just don't do it. I mean, the hardest thing to do in football often is score goals. They've got that down. They are scoring goals. They are able to look dangerous and a threat. Now it's about just not giving opposition easy opportunities to freaking score on your own goal.
Yeah, true. But you know what needs? We're probably, like, you think back to the opening, 5-6 games of the season, we were like raving about their style of play, said how high risk it was, said they're a fraction away from a mistake. And I guess as it's gone on, that kind of luck runs out, doesn't it? Because it was very high risk, at times very lucky. to get away with some of the passes they were making, square balls across the box, diagonal balls across, you know what I mean? It was really high risky. So I think they do, as much as we enjoy kind of the good moments within their style of play, and they've got some real good technical players within that squad. The high risk, I think, at the back, certainly at the back and certainly in and around the box, they need to cut some of those errors out if they are to get any sort of momentum, because they've got a goal scorer, an informed goal scorer at the minute in Nikita Paris. So, yeah, if they want to get that ball.
I'm not saying don't do it at all. I'm saying pick your moments.
Exactly.
And do you know what I mean? Like, just pick your moments.
There you go. Neat. So got another question. God, 191219N. I think that's it. Do you think that Arsenal will finish second in the WSL this season? Ooh. Have they played United twice now?
That's a big call. No, I don't think they have. Trying to see back on the fixtures, but
I think they could. But the difficulty is that United's defence is solid. They have conceded the least amount of goals out of everybody in the league. They've conceded only 6 goals this season. Chelsea have conceded 7, so they're above Chelsea in terms of least goals conceded. And they also have goals in them as well. They're actually really strong. They still have Chelsea to play, Man United. They still have Arsenal to play. Arsenal can't take any points off Chelsea because they've played them twice. Shall I put my neck on the line and say yes? Yeah.
I don't think it's possible.
It's a real, I didn't want to sit on the fence moment, so I'm just going to say yes, they can.
I don't think it's impossible for them with the momentum they have. I think they definitely they definitely could do it. But I think it's going to be closely run between them and United with the form that United are in.
Yeah. Okay, last question, and I promise I'll let you go. Who is _Sophie16 favourite player from any season of WSL, of the WSL? Oh, you know what? It has to be that season Miedema played for Arsenal up front in the number 9 and bagged goals for fun. She had an unbelievable season. I can't remember what year that was. I mean, it was like, if you think back to the start of WSL, there was probably so many good players within that. But off the top of my head and in recent, memories that I can think of, I think that season, Miedema playing in the 9 for Arsenal, she was untouchable. She was, untouchable.
Yeah, unreal. I think it has to be Sam Kerr.
That season when Chelsea won the league.
Chelsea won the league because
when she first come over, the first year, 4 years ago.
Yeah, the first season, because just like she's just ridiculous. The goals that she would pop up with.
Yeah, she scored. Remember that one at United? Remember they were, I think, was it the 4-3 game where they were like losing and that one she just hit on the fire and then turned. Remember?
Just unreal. Like, I just think she's just unreal and such a threat. I've never seen anyone with hops like her in the box as well. Airtime she gets, and she's just a constant threat. So I have to say, I think I'll say, Sam Kerr.
Shout out Sam Kerr. Well, guys, thanks for listening to BBB. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. There you go. I got it right. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you want us to talk about. I said before, throw your questions in. Me and Neats love answering your questions, should I say, and love having discussions. Much prefer if you was to give us something to discuss. But if you want us to just chat WSL, keep your messages to yourself. I'm blabbing on now. I'm just joking.